What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I'm your host, AC the Engineer, and we are at episode 66. Yep, episode 66 now, moving our way up, moving our way on up. Like always, we got a lot of crazy things to talk about. A lot of crazy things we need to review the world together with. I bring these stuff to you so we can all review the world together. You tell me, I tell you my thoughts, you tell me your thoughts, and we can have a good discussion on it. And that's how it always needs to be. Let's have a good discussion. We might not have to agree, but we need to look over this stuff together so we can learn how to move and navigate through the world. But like I said, we got a lot of crazy things to talk about today. A lot of crazy things to talk about. We're going to talk about, there's some things we're going to talk about from that. Remember that Bronx building collapse? So we're going to talk about that. We got some crazy protests that happened at UC Berkeley. And just a lot of things that I found interesting and I wanted to bring to y'all so we can talk about together. Like always, if you disagree with anything I said, leave a comment. The main thing is so we can have a civilized discussion. We can remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on everything that I'm dropping. Now, these next coming, I think not this next show, but the shows after that, they're going to be pre-recorded. They're going to be pre-recorded because I'm going to be out of town, but we can't miss. We're going to talk about a lot of crazy things. If you ever have any things you want me to review, please send it over to my emails, acreviewstheworld@gmail.com, a dot after the A and a dot after the C. But hey, I like to do it. I like to get right into it. Let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about today, the very first thing, we got to go over to the Bronx building collapse. So I don't know if y'all remember the Bronx building collapse that happened, but their new video came out saying that still not fixed, and then they don't have heat. And you know how cold it's getting. They do not have heat. So we're going to watch a video to recap what happened, and then we're going to go over to the new video that they released, that a news reporter released, talking about them not having heat. So let's get over into it and see what we can learn from this video. Remember, we got to review the world together, y'all. We got to review the world together. So let's get over into it and see what we can find out. Let's jump into it.
Now at noon, terrifying moments in the Bronx. Part of a NYCHA building collapsing into a pile of rubble. We are live on the scene right now. Welcome to the Noon and Bianca Peters. Officials say it was an incinerator shaft on the corner of the high-rise building that came crashing down, bringing part of the facade with it. This video showing the moments when that shaft came crashing down in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. Onlookers from nearby buildings watching in horror as this all went down. We do have team coverage of the collapse first at noon with Arthur Chin and Anton Lewis on the scene. Let's kick things off with Arthur. Arthur, we did hear from officials a short time ago. Well, what's the update on this?
Let's go over the details, Bianca. At 8:10 this morning were the first reports of an explosion here at this location. This is 205 Alexander up here in the Bronx. This is a massive NYCHA complex that spans from 137th Street to 135th Street. And as we turn up there, pieces are still coming down off this building. Let's go back to that video that we just showed our viewers, which was obtained by Fox 5, showing the collapse. This was shot, we were told, by a resident in a neighboring building. It shows the top part of that chimney stack raining down. That's more than 20 stories high and came crashing down to the ground. It is an absolute miracle at this point that nobody was hurt. An FDNY source says they went over surveillance video to see if anybody was walking in that area. There was one gentleman that they saw, and they say even that person has been accounted for. So at this point, there are no injuries to report. Now, 2 apartment lines in that building are fully evacuated as officials are trying to figure out whether or not the building's structural integrity still stands. Here's part of what Mayor Adams just said now after being briefed here at the scene.
What seems in preliminary investigations, there was some type of explosion. This happened at 8:10 this morning. We received reports of an incident involving the chimney to the boiler room here at NYCHA's Mitchell houses. This resulted in a partial building collapse.
Now, this is video from the back side of the building, the other side from where we are standing. You can see that the massive wall is still dangling on its own without support, and that is one major piece of work that needs to be done, as this will have to come down and has to be removed carefully since it's attached to apartments. They can't simply just saw it off. As for the cause, the mayor pointing out today, October 1st is the first day that heat was turned on here in the city. There are some reports that people smelled gas prior to this collapse. That's being looked into right now. We also asked the commissioner of the Department of Buildings if there was current ongoing work being done on the boiler that sits directly below the point of collapse, and this is what he just told us.
My understanding is that work was being done on the boiler. I don't know if our friends at Fire or Con Ed want to speak to that. A permit was pulled and work was being done on it actively.
All right.
All right, so we got the gist of what happened. So let's get over into this next video to where they talk about how it's still not, where they still have no heat. They still have no heat. So let's get over into it.
This is the construction area outside of 205 Alexander Avenue as NYCHA works to get the cooking gas back to these apartments. NYCHA says residents have the heat and hot water, although many of them say it is not up to par at this point. NYCHA held a meeting but refused to allow the media in.
Sir, why is the media and the public not allowed in a meeting for NYCHA?
A NYCHA property manager shutting out the media and tenant advocates who've been fighting for residents of the Mitchell houses. They refused to give any building updates if cameras and cell phones were rolling.
They want to stop y'all because they want to hide what is really going on in this development.
The chimney chute above the boiler room at 205 Alexander Avenue collapsed in early October, more than 5 weeks ago. A temporary system has been used to provide heat and hot water to residents, but gas for cooking has not been restored. Several residents we've spoke to say the temporary heat is not working properly.
I ain't got no heat. I don't have no heat. And then that's what I told them. I don't have no heat. I don't have no crock pot.
But it was cold in the apartments earlier today, since the morning to about 5:30. There's been a problem like that, seems like every day.
No heat. They got no heat. I woke up this morning and I didn't have the heat on. I immediately jumped up, had to turn that on. Smelled a little. You can smell the heat when it come on. Smelled that. Felt good. I can't imagine. Then they ain't even got the gas to work the stove. The landlord don't want no media in there so they can't learn anything. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it. If any of y'all in New York, tell me. Anybody's in this building, tell me what y'all thinking. Let's keep going, though.
NYCHA spokesperson said the meeting was not open to the public and media because it was building specific for residents. Afterwards, some residents told us that they were told each apartment needs to be tested for asbestos before the gas line running into the apartment can be repaired. In a statement, a NYCHA spokesperson said in part that gas service interruptions and restoration work are a matter of public safety and involve multiple partners and steps. Another resident who didn't want to be shown on camera says he's living on takeout food since he can't cook on a hot plate.
I'm a teacher, so I don't have as much time to cook anymore. And so we try to meal prep, but because we have nothing, to really cook with.
And while it is taking longer to repair the gas here, NYCHA saying long term it will lead to more stable service for the Mitchell houses. We are here in the South Bronx. Eileen LaPalmer, Pix 11.
Absolutely crazy. Now tell me your thoughts, y'all. Tell me your thoughts. They have no gas, no heat. And they say they had a temporary service in there, but it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. It's still cold. What can they do? What can the residents do other than wait for the owners of the building to get everything repaired? It's obviously not going to be a short fix, but seems like they're in there. I'm assuming the building's stable since they're allowing people in there, but absolutely crazy. Y'all let me know your thoughts on that situation. What would you do in this situation? Would you... One dude said he can't cook on a hot plate. I don't think that's any different if you can't. I'm assuming he just can't cook. I don't know about that, but what can they do in this situation? I can't see anything that they could do because it's all up to the building manager. Maybe they can make their voices known, not pay any rent, but I don't know if they could probably kick them out. It's a crazy situation. Let me know your thoughts and let me know how you feel about it. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But we had to get over into those updates. It's a crazy time to be without heat in the winter. But we got to pivot. We got to pivot over into this next topic. Looks like it's a video talking about 4. Hold on, let me get there to this. We're going to pivot over into our next topic. We're going to get over into this next one. Looks like 4 Pepperdine students killed. And I believe, if I read the video right, the man is trying to ask for the murder charges to be dropped. So let's get over into that. We got a video to look at that we want to get into. So let's see what we can learn from this situation. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
A crush of cameras today outside this California courthouse.
How you feeling?
All eyes on the 24-year-old accused of a tragedy that claimed the lives of 4 young Pepperdine University students. Frazier Michael Bowen, charged with their murder, is flanked by his family and his high-powered attorney.
Are you hoping to get the murder charge dropped to felony manslaughter?
That's why we're here today.
This motion before the court is the latest in the case that has continued to torment the victims' families and friends.
I still feel pain, but that kind of pain is something that you can't even imagine, something that you can't even put into words.
The Pacific Coast Highway, or PCH, runs along the ocean in Malibu, California, home to surfers, celebrities, and multi-million-dollar homes. The Pacific Coast Highway, and what some call Dead Man's Curve in particular, has long been decried as dangerous. Since 2014, at least 61 people have died on the 21-mile stretch of the highway that runs through Malibu, which includes Dead Man's Curve. In 2024, the mayor of Malibu announcing a task force to combat the issue.
We need to really talk about Malibu and PCH.
Since the accident, I had a person driving 112, the car was impounded, person driving 109, 18 years old, unlicensed driver, another person driving 107.
In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner was involved in an accident that resulted in 1 fatality. Jenner was not charged. This notorious stretch of road chronicled in the documentary 21 Miles in Malibu.
This road was never meant to handle that many people.
This is going to end badly.
The film, produced by Michelle Shane, whose daughter Emily was struck and killed on the PCH when she was 13 years old.
She was a really good kid. She was a sweet, kind person who didn't have a mean bone in her body.
I remember when I first moved out here and I was a freshman at Pepperdine, the one thing they sort of tell you is, be careful of PCH. Don't speed, don't run across it, even be careful using pedestrian walks, don't go on the sidewalk. They're very cautious of it.
Seniors Asha Weir, Deslin Williams, Neve Rolston, and Peyton Stewart were killed instantly when a BMW plowed into them along the stretch of the infamous highway at 8:30 p.m. on October 17, 2023.
As soon as it happened, I knew exactly what it was, car accident.
The damage was incredible. The debris pattern was all over the streets. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in 7 years of working in Malibu and responding to accidents on PCH.
Bridget Thompson lost 4 of her sorority sisters, best friends, and roommates that night.
It's heartbreaking. It's hard knowing that my friends' lives stopped in that moment. at the hands of him.
Prosecutors say the car, driven by then 22-year-old Frazier Boehm, was speeding at more than 100 miles per hour on Dead Man's Curve. The speed limit was 45. This home security footage shows the car flying by seconds before the crash.
It was avoidable. Speed was the issue.
Now he's been charged with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter. He's pleaded not guilty and was released on a $4 million bail.
It's disappointing to know that he's walking free and they got their lives stolen from them, and their families have empty chairs at their tables, and their families have to live with this every single day.
Crazy. Now, tell me your thoughts on that whole situation, y'all. Tell me your thoughts. He's they're saying he's trying to get walk free. It's a crazy stretch of roads. A lot of people have died on it. Well, let's keep going. Let's keep going into this.
The victims' families are also suing in civil court.
I do believe that he's being charged in the proper way. I trust the prosecution in that, and I do believe that there's consequences for your actions, and this can set a precedent for the future.
What he was doing was dangerous, and he is coming up with excuses as to why the collision occurred.
Prosecutors arguing that Boehm's extreme indifference to human life warrants the charges.
He's been charged with 4 counts of what are known as implied malice murder. It is often applied to traffic accidents, most commonly DUI cases, but you also have speed contest cases with these, 2 fast and furious young guys with fins on their cars will engage in racing. What's interesting about this case is there's no allegation that Mr. Boehm was under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
Speed cannot be treated as malice.
Boehm is being represented by renowned LA defense attorney Alan Jackson.
Frazier Boehm has never been and will never ever be a murderer. He did not intentionally or with any kind of an implied malice take any lives. This was a tragedy. It's a tragic accident.
Jackson.
Now that's a good question. If you're going too fast and they're going too fast, can you be charged with murder? Can that be like, that's a crazy situation. Definitely needs manslaughter, of course. Definitely needs to have manslaughter. But can they up it to murder because he was going too fast? I can't see them doing it. They the lawyers can do something, but I definitely manslaughter, because when I think of murder, I think of you intending to hurt someone. I'm not sure he was intending to hurt anyone. And manslaughter is you accidentally do it. But let's keep going and see what they got to say.
Is no stranger to high-profile cases, representing disgraced Hollywood titan Harvey Weinstein and successfully defending Karen Reed after she was charged with murdering her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, the case becoming a media frenzy in the Boston area.
It was corrupted by a lead investigator whose misconduct infected every single part of this case.
In his latest case, Jackson says Boehm was trying to get away from another driver that he viewed as a threat.
He was being harassed on the road. All the evidence points to it, and we intend to show that to the jury, too.
Jackson also arguing in court to have the murder charges dismissed.
The law demands that the murder counts be dismissed so that this case can proceed on the proper charges, the charges the evidence actually supports.
On one hand, the jury is going to see this young man who made a horrific mistake and is on trial for his life. On the other hand, this is a very well-considered, well-thought-out prosecution that I believe is properly charged the way they did it.
Boehm had no passengers with him, and neither drugs nor alcohol was a factor, according to authorities and his attorneys. For Bridget Thompson, that October evening 2 years ago started out like a typical college night out. Just minutes away from meeting her friends, she gets stuck in traffic.
There's a huge accident outside, and all their locations are here, but they're nowhere to be seen. So I called all of them, and none of them answered.
The death shaking the entire Pepperdine community.
The following day after the accident, none of us went to work or did anything. We just stayed with each other, and then Pepperdine, opened its arms to our community, and there was a wake. That night we were one. We were all one. just praying and worshiping and just being in together.
In court today, the judge denying the defense's motion to dismiss the murder charges against him. If convicted of murder, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Bridget wants her friends to be remembered.
I take them with me wherever I go every single day. I think I'm a different person than I was before I met them. They changed me for the better.
We will continue to follow this story as the case unfolds.
Wow, absolutely crazy. Now, it's a lot of things to think about. Can you charge? Can you charge him with murder? That is the question. So let's get over into this article and see if they tell us anything different. So, a California man accused of causing a crash that killed 4 Pepperdine University students on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu will appeal after the judge rejects his defense team's motion to dismiss murder counts in this case. So, Frazier, 24, faces 4 counts of murder in connection with a crash that left 4 Pepperdine students killed on October 17, 2023. A day after his 22nd birthday, allegedly sped around a turn in his BMW, slammed into a parked red Mazda, and kicked up a cloud of smoke and debris. According to the court documents, he carried car-ended. That's an awful word. Car-ended into another parked car, hit a planter, multiple garbage cans, and then either struck a third parked vehicle or a stone wall. But he had no drugs or alcohol in his system, and according to the court documents, he had not sent any text messages in the moments of the crash. So he wasn't texting and driving, he wasn't drinking or on drugs or anything like that. The one thing that is not in dispute is that this was a terrible tragedy. Yes. So like I said, I can see manslaughter. But where are they getting the murder from? The victors were all in their senior year and members of the Alpha Phi sorority. They were on foot at the time of the crash and declared dead at the scene after responding officers found them between the BMW and a silver parked car. Bowen was arrested on manslaughter charges, which were later dropped as investigators dug deeper into the case. They came back with murder charges a week after the crash. Frazier and his family grieved for the victims and their loved ones. At the same time, the California Supreme Court has been clear that speed alone does not equate to murder. There was no alcohol, drugs, texting, or street racing involved in the case. A case like this is why vehicular manslaughter laws weren't created. It was overfilled as murder. Overfiled as murder. And we will be asking for in the court to reverse Judge Robinson's decision to dismiss the murder charges. Prosecutors alleged that he was driving 104 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone known locally as Dead Man's Curve. But there's also evidence that a moving white car struck Bowen's vehicle on the other side before he lost control, the defense argued in court documents. In court, Jackson argued that the prosecutor's case is not enough to justify implied like I said, I think it's a horrible case. Manslaughter, I can see. He needs to face punishment. But implied malice for going 104 miles per hour in a 45. Where do you get implied malice from? Under the California law, which requires prosecutors to prove that the suspect intentionally committed an act that is likely to cause death, disregarded the danger. Okay, hold on. So implied malice under California law requires prosecutors to prove that the suspect intentionally committed an act that is likely to cause death and consciously disregarded the danger. Hold on now. Now that brings some implied malice. Okay, now that I understand the law, I can, they can do that. So it makes sense now, which is requires prosecutors to prove that the suspect intentionally committed an act that is likely to cause death and consciously disregarded the danger. While driving 104 miles per hour in a curve that's known as Dead Man's Curve. Okay. Now that I understand it, I can see implied malice in them trying to charge him with murder. I can see that. I didn't know that was even under the murder charge, implied malice. That's crazy. Let's keep going. Prosecutors at the preliminary hearing alleged that he knowingly sped on a stretch of road known to be dangerous. Yes, he did. Boehm, who is from the area, allegedly told police he knew the stretch of road like the back of his hand and aware that speed kills after two of his friends died in an earlier crash. According to prosecutors, he should have known that speeding in the area could put lives in danger. That makes sense to me. I can see that. Victor Collandrine, the driver of the blue GMC pickup, reportedly seeing Bowman's BMW swerving erratically before the crash. The defense, however, claimed that Bowman was trying to get away from Collandrine, I don't know how to say his name, who was allegedly had an alleged history of other road rage incidents, and that his testimony was contradicted by another witness. He was later seen yelling at Bowman in the wake of the crash as they awaited responding officers, according to court documents. Let's see. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Thomas Rudson rejected the argument at the hearing on Monday. Last month, the city of Malibu released 4 white doves in honor of the victims in memorial service. Pepperdine University is a private Christian school with the campus overlooking the Pacific Ocean. That brings a lot more to the question, brings a lot more to the whole situation. So implied malice. That is why they're charging him with murder. And under the California law, which required prosecutors to prove that the suspect intentionally committed an act that is likely to cause death and consciously disregarded the danger. I can see that. Under the jury, if I know that, since I understand that definition, I can see him being charged with murder. I did not know they had an implied malice, and that is what that meant. Absolutely crazy. Y'all, let me know your thoughts. Did you understand that implied malice was a thing? They're saying that speed alone cannot be. So hold on. What is the defense attorney saying? That a case like Meheckler, it was created. He said that the Supreme Court has been clear that speed alone does not equate to murder. So yes, speed alone does not equate to murder, but implied malice under the California law, which requires prosecutors to prove he intentionally committed an act that is likely to cause death. Driving that erratically and fast in a curve known as Dead Man Curve, which people usually die at, I can see that he can disregard any consequences. So, but let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That's a crazy case, and we had to bring it up so we can understand and review the world together, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that whole situation. And like I said, let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's a crazy case. It is a crazy case. But let's pivot. We got to go over to UC Berkeley. I know if y'all seen it, the UC Berkeley protest. We got 2 videos to look at. Looks like some violence broke out. Let's get over into it and see what we can learn from this situation. So when protests turn violent, it's never good for anybody. It's never good for anybody, but let's get over into it and see what we can find out.
So I just got to the Charlie Kirk event, and there's literally so many unhinged people here already. Like, look at this. Look. This is the liberals too.
Right, go behind us.
What the? Literally, this is the stuff conservatives have to deal with because you have unhinged liberals. This is the we're dealing with. Genuinely insane. What is wrong with people? This is genuinely insane.
So if you can't hear, they're yelling fascists out of Berkeley.
Fascists out of Berkeley! 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 Break it off!
Reporters be on it. You see, they up right in his face. All right, let's get over into this next video where we get into like a news article so we can actually hear them talk about it.
A night of protests turns bloody at the final stop of the controversial college tour. Several protesters taken into custody outside the Turning Point USA event at UC Berkeley. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dan Ashley. The conservative group's nationwide tour ended tonight here in the Bay Area, and that stop comes exactly 2 months ago to the day when founder Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at the first event of the tour in Utah. For this breaking news update, let's go to ABC 7 News reporter Frances Wang. She's live on the Cal campus where the event just wrapped up not long ago. Frances, you saw a lot of protesters and a lot of security, too.
Yeah, Dan, organizers expected these protesters, many of them showing up hours before doors even opened. There were some tense, even violent moments you can imagine with protesters and attendees just standing within inches of each other. At one point, police even had to move the line.
Where were you 2 months ago today when you heard Charlie had been shot?
The Turning Point USA tour ended here at UC Berkeley with hundreds packed into Zellerbach Hall. Outside, students and other demonstrators chanted and protested throughout the night.
They're using our facilities and resources to do it, which I think is just crazy. It's like, go somewhere, we don't want you here.
Events like this
should never happen on this campus or anywhere again.
As people here for the Turning Point USA event gathered here in line, they have just been let in, but as you can see, the protesters are upset, yelling at police who are standing there ready with riot gear. Tensions escalated. Fights, fireworks, smoke bombs erupted, creating chaos and confusion. At least one person was hurt, multiple arrested. Attendees and supporters of Turning Point's founder Charlie Kirk not deterred.
When you see someone that courageous with their faith, they're like, why am I not that courageous with my faith? I want to be that courageous with my faith. I should be not afraid to wear a shirt that says Jesus on it, even though everyone looked at me today and gave me dirty looks. It's like, that's okay.
I want to encourage free ideas expression. I don't want one side to dominate the other. And I think there's valid points on both sides.
Speakers, including actor Rob Schneider, questioning free speech here on campus.
Berkeley, shame on you, Berkeley.
And addressing the protesters outside.
You're coming from a place of emotion. And that's tough.
Even without Kirk, the night and Turning Point USA tour concluded with his signature Prove Me Wrong format. Attendees given time to line up and ask questions or share their points of view.
See, it doesn't sound like they were doing anything crazy, I guess, but people have the right to protest, but let's keep going. Let's keep going.
And Dan, there were some ticketing issues, which many of the speakers blamed on the university. As for the protesters, they remained outside throughout the entire event. They remained until the attendees were let out, chanting and yelling at the people here at Turning Point USA tonight. Police essentially had to escort many of those attendees out.
So let's just, if you don't know what Turning Point USA is, just a quick definition. Turning Point USA is an American nonprofit organization that advocates for conservative politics on high schools, colleges, and university campus. It was founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk and Bill Montgomery. You see, I'm not good with names. But let's get over into this next video and see if we learn anything different about it.
We are seeing that KTVU Fox 2 is above that active protest scene. Let's watch a little bit of their coverage.
USA's event on campus tonight at Zellerbach Hall. That is the group Turning Point USA, founded by the late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Some Cal students say they are disappointed with the school for allowing the event to happen. So far, at least 2 people have been detained, and that event starts in about an hour as you take a look at that large group.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're upset with the university for letting it happen. I thought a university is a place, at least that's my understanding when I went to universities, there are different people who believes in all different things. As long as you're not trying to burn down the school, if you're not advocating for something egregious and you're just discussing stuff civilly, or how can I say it, discussing stuff in a proper manner, there shouldn't be any problems with it. Yes, it's fine for people to protest, but why are they trying to fight? And then I don't understand, but let's keep going.
Outside of that event, we have seen that crowd continuing to grow as the afternoon has gone on. We want to show you some video from within the last hour. We've highlighted for you as some fights broke out in this crowd. Again, we know 2 people have been detained as emotions are high and tensions are high, as we saw some of those protesters clashing with people waiting in line to get inside. We know the university has added enhanced security measures. They've called in a lot of police from Berkeley as well as UC Berkeley, and Turning Point USA has also hired some of their own independent security to be on campus. There are strict policies to actually get inside of Zellerbach Hall, but we know certainly tensions are high outside of Zellerbach Hall right now. We want to show you some more video here of some of that law enforcement presence as they took at least one person, they detained at least 2 people so far, but video of one of them being detained and put in the back of a police car. Again, we We know Berkeley police are on hand, private security, as well as UC Berkeley's own campus police. This is a situation that we are continuing to monitor tonight, and we will bring you any updates as these things develop tonight ahead of this event set to start in the next hour.
And I'm hearing from our producers here that today does mark 2 months since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We don't have our raw helicopter feed of that situation anymore, but this is how Fox News was classifying this. They say a bloody brawl broke out near the Turning Point USA event at Berkeley in California as agitators staged a protest. 2 men spotted fighting as a mob formed around, and then police were called in. Several arrests ending up being made. We'll let you know if KTVU or Fox brings us any more.
Absolutely crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Now, I believe that's everything we got to talk about. Now, tell me your thoughts, y'all. Tell me your thoughts. It's a crazy situation. Crazy situation. Now, I see FBA, what did she say? He or she. Wait until you get your health care bill. You're going to want to burn something too. I mean, I don't know about burning something, but price has been high for everything since before Trump got into office. It was high when Biden was in office. It was still high now. It's a crazy time. I never advocate for any kind of violence or anything like that. If you have a point to make your point. There's no need to get horrible about it. There's no need to have get angry when discussing points. That is my point. If you're getting angry, then you're losing the argument or you're losing the discussions. Now, it doesn't even need to be considered an argument. You're losing the discussion. State your points. If someone has better points than you, I mean, someone has better points than you. The whole thing is for people to discuss their ideas. Discuss what they feel, discuss what I feel. If we can't come to an agreement, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. No need to get upset about it or anything like that. But let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's crazy times, y'all. It's crazy times. But 2 people were arrested in that protest. And it was both sides, people fighting. But it's what's going to happen. It's what's going to happen. You said you work in healthcare and your insurance went up as well? I haven't even looked. I haven't. Let me see. I got to look at my next paycheck. Get my insurance through the job. I got to look. Absolutely crazy. But let's pivot. We're going to pivot over into the next topic. The next thing we're going to look at, we got to go over to, there was a death on Carnival Cruise. Yes, there was a death on Carnival Cruise of a teen girl. So we're going to get over into that and see what all that is about and see what we can learn from the situation. We got a few videos to look at so we can piece everything together. But let's get over into it and see what we can figure out from this situation.
The car of a student, ABC News reports, died on a cruise, is still parked at the school she would have graduated from. I'm your Titusville community correspondent, James Sparvero. On Temple Christian School's Facebook page, an administrator writes how much he'll miss 18-year-old Anna Kepner. You were a bright, kind-hearted young woman whose presence brought warmth and energy into the classroom. Your curiosity, your gentle spirit, and the way you cared for those around you made a lasting impression on me and on everyone who knew you.
Her faith in God was really present in all of the kids, and that's really helped them through a lot.
I see that spot, and it just makes my heart melt for the family. I can only imagine the pain that they're going through.
As parents I meet send their condolences to Anna's family, neither the FBI nor Carnival Cruise Line are telling us how Anna died on a cruise from Miami. The FBI told me no comment while the investigation's open, and the statement Carnival gave me reads, quote, "Our focus is on supporting the family of our guest."
The family deserves all their time to mourn. I hope that they get whatever answers they need answered.
Hopefully there's some closure in the near future for the family. I would want that if it was my child.
The school says it's providing counseling to students And as soon as we get any update on the investigation, we'll add those new details to clickorlando.com.
So, yep, 18-year-old student ID'd as passenger who died on a Carnival cruise. Let's get over into this next video and see if they got any more details.
New this afternoon, a Brevard County community mourning the death of an 18-year-old who died on board a Carnival cruise ship this past Saturday. Channel 9's Sam Martello is live at Temple Christian School for us this afternoon. And Sam, she was a student there.
Temple Christian is where Anna Kepner was attending school. She was a senior set to graduate in May. And if you take a look here behind me, her car is actually parked here in the parking lot. And as you can see, many people are remembering her today. Balloons surround 18-year-old Anna Kepner's car as it sits parked at Temple Christian School in Titusville. The teen was reported dead over the weekend as she was traveling on a Carnival cruise ship sailing from Miami to the Caribbean. Details surrounding her death have not been released, but the FBI is now investigating. Anna's family says they are struggling to come to terms with her death, but did share this statement with us, saying, quote, "This does not seem real. We all just want her back. She was such a caring and loving sister. She was the oldest sibling in her whole family. She had volunteered to help with her fellow younger gymnasts and her local church throughout her childhood. Anna was a bubbly, free-spirited, strong young woman, and I can say that we are all proud of the young woman she was growing into and had a bright future ahead of her." Carnival Cruise Line confirmed to ABC News of her passing in a statement, saying, "Our focus is on supporting the family of our guests and cooperating with the FBI." The school was offering counseling for any of the seniors who were struggling with this news, and they went on to tell us that if students continue to struggle with this, all they need to do is reach out to them for some help.
Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Now, like always, if you're going through something and dealing with someone who's passed, please go seek help. Go talk to someone. Sometimes people can't handle dealing with it on their own, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I wonder, we'll see if I can find an article about if they released any details about how she died. Did she drown? Was she killed? I'm assuming she wasn't killed because that'd be a whole uproar. But we got one more video to look at, and let's see if we can find out.
We're turning now to the FBI investigation after an 18-year-old died aboard a Carnival cruise ship. Rhiannon Alley here with the latest. Good morning, Rhiannon.
There are so many questions. Good morning, you guys. Yeah, but a federal investigation is now underway to figure out what happened to Anna Kepner on board what should have been a fun vacation. We spoke with her family, who says they want her to be known for her generosity and her spirit. Her family sharing photos of that 18-year-old who was a senior in high school and was preparing to graduate in May. We are waiting to hear how and where on the ship she died, but the FBI is now investigating, confirming her death, adding, because this is an ongoing matter, no further information is available at this time. So here's what we know about the ship. The Horizon can hold nearly 4,000 people. It has a staff of about 1,450. And Carnival said it is working with the FBI to try to get to the bottom of this, to figure out what happened, saying our focus is on supporting the family of our guest and cooperating with the FBI. Detectives are now reviewing video from the cruise, and they're also interviewing passengers. And the Carnival Horizon is now docked back in Miami. They actually returned as scheduled Saturday morning, and the woman's family says they are still trying to come to terms with her death. They hope people remember her as a happy, bubbly, straight-A student who had a very bright future ahead, a future that was just cut tragically short.
Yeah, but her heart goes out to that family. But
Absolutely crazy. So no cause of death have been determined yet. Just looking up. The autopsy is still pending. But yeah, she died on Carnival Horizon on a 6-day cruise to Western Caribbeans. 18 years old, and the family has requested that they requested privacy and asked that any online speculations regarding the circumstances of her death stop. It's a tragic situation. I can't imagine, truly can't imagine. Your little girl goes on, 18-year-old, still your little girl goes on a cruise with her friends, and then you just find out that she's gone. Bet she's an organ donor. I don't know about all that. I don't know. She could be, but I never like to believe about the whole, bet she's an organ. I never like to believe about the whole organ donor thing where, but at the end of the day, it's a tragic situation. We'll keep up to date to see if we can find out any information or when they release the information about her cause of death. Because a lot of people are wondering what happened. Be careful, y'all. When you go on vacation, be careful. Don't just lose all your faculties. I don't know exactly the situation, but always be on your P's and Q's. Always have your head on a swivel. I like to say that. Keep your head on a swivel, please. Absolutely tragic. We got to pray for the family because it's going to be that's a horrible situation. Horrible situation. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's a crazy world we live in, but we got to keep reviewing the world together. We have to keep reviewing the world together. You said they've been doing it. They probably have. They probably have, but it's a crazy world. That's all I can say about it. It's a crazy world, but absolutely wild. But there's something we got to get over into that. It's not surprising that we see something like this, but something came across my page. A man gets 11 years for shooting a grandmother at the ATM. I mean, you make your predictions on what he looks like. But let's get over into it and see what we can find out about this situation. There are some horrible people in this world. That's all I can say. There's some horrible people in this world, but let's get over into the video and see what we can learn from this situation. Absolutely tragic. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it.
Now, the man who shot a woman in front of her granddaughter at a Covington ATM has now learned his fate. Today, a judge sentenced him to 11 years in prison. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Molly Shen.
And I'm Preston Phillips. Tonight, we're hearing from the woman still recovering from her injuries and her reaction to her shooter's sentencing. Couple Jackie Kent live outside the courthouse in Kent tonight with the story. Jackie?
Yeah, and it was a very emotional day. The victim, Tina Rothert, says she has found strength through her granddaughter to help her through her physical pain and also to face her attacker in court today. Now, Colby Delamar pleaded guilty to the assault and the robbery last month, and today he apologized before the judge handed down his sentence.
I'm a prisoner in my own community, no longer comfortable out in public.
In front of a Kent judge and the man who shot her, Tina Rothert recalled her attack at an ATM in front of her 10-year-old granddaughter, Haley, who she had adopted as her daughter.
She was and still is the reason I have not given up.
She urged the judge to sentence Colby Delamar to the maximum of just over 20.
He got the broken heart. For some reason, he got Terry. Is that Terry? Terry above his eyebrow. He got a. Is that an S on his neck? Let's back it up and keep going. Let's back it up and keep going.
Maximum of just over 12 years in prison to close this chapter of her life.
Offenders are not being held accountable and given even little, if any, adequate consequences.
The surveillance footage from April 2024 played in court, showing Delamar and another man approaching the 65-year-old grandmother with a gun as she tried depositing a check. When she refused to pay up and called for help, that's when she says he shot her 3 times and she fell to the ground in front of Haley, who saw it all from the car.
She should not be carrying the level of anxiety.
I was not expecting them to have the video up there. We got to back that up, son.
Quick consequences.
The surveillance footage from April 2024 played in court, showing Delamar and another man approaching the 65-year-old grandmother with a gun as she tried depositing a check. When she refused to pay up and called for help, that's when she says he shot her 3 times and she fell to the ground in front of Haley, who saw it all from the car.
She should not be carrying the level of anxiety that this has caused her.
After many speeches from Rothert's family, her Seahawkers Booster Club friends, and Delamar's dad and brother.
I strongly believe that chemical activity played a part in this. Chemical dependency, fentanyl, drugs, what it's doing to our young people today, not just my son.
Keep your head up, stay accountable, be smart, make better choices, okay?
Delamar broke down in tears and apologized.
Deep down, no amount of time will fix what I've done. Tina, I want to ask you if you would please accept my apology as a young, dumb person for the traumatizing things I did to you.
Judge Sandra Woodland said she considered Delamar's age of 20 years when handing down a sentence of 11 years behind bars.
It is my hope for you and for the community that you spend every day really being the person that they see in you.
No. Man, he got them tears now. You see the tears running down his face. They always cry when you get the sentence. They always cry when you get the sentence. He might be actually sorry that what he did. But if you're holding a gun at somebody, I'm assuming you're not just using it to scare. It didn't look like he was like she jumped at him, lunged, and the gun actually went off. He shot her because she would not give it up. I mean, you can be sorry all you want now, but like it'd be a totally different story if like still an awful, still needs to go to jail for a long time. But if she would have like lunged at the gun and it accidentally went off, he wasn't meaning to shoot her or anything. But come on now, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? There's no excuse. You're 100%. There's no excuse. It's absolutely crazy. Let's go over to the next video. We got one more. See if we can learn anything else.
A man who shot and tried to rob a King County grandmother has learned his fate. Colby Delamar was sentenced today after pleading guilty. Tina,
you said the coddling is sick. Yeah, you see how they came in there quick, saying he's a good person. He's do better. They said that drugs have something to do with it, fentanyl. That's what the father said. But if you're robbing old ladies at the ATM, you already down the wrong path. Robbing an old lady at the ATM, trying to get a check. Let's keep going.
Rothert and her granddaughter both survived that terrifying attack in Covington. You may remember I shared their story in detail earlier this week. Tonight, Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman was in Judge Sandra Woodland's courtroom, where Tina made a passionate plea against leniency, saying the shooter's age should not excuse his actions. So, Allie, what was the sentence handed down?
Yeah, David, I can tell you that Judge Sandra Woodland actually sentenced Colby Delamar to 132 months, or simply put, 11 years in prison exactly. This is after he did plead guilty to assault and attempted murder, both in the first degree. Now, we do have surveillance video of that brutal attack I want to show you. Take a look there, because this would have been a routine trip to the ATM for Tina, one that she made countless times. But in April of 2024, it nearly cost her her life. It's been more than 19 months at this point since Tina was shot 3 times, twice in her thigh and once in her stomach during an attempted robbery at this Covington ATM. And as you saw, detectives say Colby Delamar and another man demanded she withdraw $1,000. When she couldn't, Delamar opened fire, while Tina's granddaughter watched from the car and is now dealing with unimaginable trauma. Since that...
Oh, they showed the act. See, this is another view we ain't seen. So this is the other friend who has he been caught? Because he was right there with him. He needs to go to jail as well. But let's keep going.
Night, Tina's been in therapy nearly every week. She's struggling to walk without pain and learning how to live her life daily after this trauma. She told the court she's a prisoner in her own community. She can't enjoy the activities she did before this crime. Let's put it into perspective, because fireworks, cars backfiring, popping balloons, and the sound of the 4th of July are just a few of the things that put her on edge, reminders of that violent night. Delamar pleaded guilty to first-degree assault and attempted robbery. Today, Tina faced him in court and delivered a 5-page victim impact statement describing how that moment continues to affect and shape every part of her life. The grandmother also spoke about accountability, telling the court the youth offender leniency sends the wrong message, arguing that at 18 years old, people are old enough to face full consequences for their actions.
While he was unable to steal any money from me, Colby did steal my peace of mind and injured me to an extent that I may never completely recover. Given the dates of the crime and arrest, Haley and I have already served more time than he has. He sentenced both of us to many more years than he will ever serve. Not to mention that after shooting me, he wanted to go to another ATM and try again because he didn't get any money from me. Fortunately, for some unknown citizen, his co-defendant refused. We can't fix all of this overnight, but we have to start somewhere. We need to stop sensation.
Now, Tina says that she agreed to the plea deal not because she believes it's fair, but because she needs closure. Delamar broke down as one by one his father and brother spoke, asking the judge for mercy, calling his actions a terrible decision that were fueled by drugs and bad influences. The 20-year-old apologized to Tina for his actions. Take a listen.
I know I left you scarred physically and mentally. Deep down, no amount of time will fix what I've done because I have made a horrendous mistake that both of us will struggle to live with for the rest of our lives. Lastly, Tina, I want to ask you if you would please accept my apology as a young, dumb person for the traumatizing things I did to you.
Now, I did catch up with Tina after court, David, and you know this just as well, that Colby has not showed this level of emotion at all throughout the entire case. So when I spoke to Tina, she tells me that she was very surprised, caught off guard, and that she actually hopes that he turns his life around. Now, she also spoke about the sentencing, and she tells me that she was hoping for more, but she does understand the judge's decisions when it comes to sentencing him again to 11 years, and he will still have to do 3 years of probation once he is released. We know that a restitution hearing is also going to be scheduled at a later time. But David, as you mentioned, you've been covering this story extensively, and we do have that up for all of our viewers to take a second look at up on our website, fox13seattle.com. For now in Kent, I'm Alejandra Guzman.
Thank you so much.
So absolutely crazy, y'all. So the prosecution wanted 12.25 years. That's what they wanted to get. The judge, I guess, going lenient, thinking that he could be rehabilitated. The same thing we've heard from countless judges, gave him 11 years. 11 years with 3 years probation, I believe. Yep, 3 years. Let me see, make sure I'm sure. 11 years in prison. Yep, 11 years. I can't remember the exact probation amount, but 11 years. The victim wanted the maximum. And then because they were charging with like attempted murder, attempted robbery. The maximum is life. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I might be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But do you think he got off too easy for the crimes he did? He could have killed her. We got to be honest. He could have killed her. He probably wouldn't have cared if he killed her until he would have got caught. Then, of course, he would have cried and cried like they always do. They would have cried. Family members would have came. Drugs is a part of it. All that good stuff. All that. Blah, blah, blah. But now we haven't mentioned about the other suspect. I don't see anywhere. I was trying to look, but the other suspect, because it was 2 people now. The one who shot her and the one who didn't. But you see, when he shot her, he jumped a little bit. He wasn't expecting it. At the end of the day, they still need to both be in jail. Both be in jail. Now, if it was in some states you got hands of one, hands of all. I think that's the name of it, to where if one person gets charged with murder, they all can get charged with murder or attempted murder. Let me know your thoughts on this case, y'all. Let me know. It's a tragic situation. I am happy that she did not lose her life. I am happy. But I don't want to see the crocodile tears. I don't want to see the tears saying that you're sorry. Yes, I understand. You're sad that you got sentenced and got caught. You know your life. You're 11 years in jail. You got the tattoos. You look like someone about that life. Now you got to deal with the consequences. Now, like I said, let me know if you think the judge was too lenient on him. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's a crazy world, y'all. Keep your head on a swivel. I don't go to ATMs at night unless I pull up there. And I carry my protection with me. That's all I'm gonna say. I carry my protection with me, which I'm legally allowed to have. Absolutely tragic. Hopefully the little girl is gonna have to get some counseling. The grandmother's already old age, so now she's got to. Oh, that's the worst person it could have happened to. She got shot. It's horrible when it happens to anybody, but absolutely tragic, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Absolutely crazy. Now we're going to pivot. We're going to look at, so it looks like gang members have been arrested that are responsible for 31 homicides in the Bay Area. We're going to go over into a video of I believe it's the police chief, who is basically giving his breakdown of the case, breakdown of what's happening. So we're going to get over into that and see what we can learn from this situation. So let's jump over into it and see what we can find out. Remember, y'all, hit that like, subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Let's get into it.
Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Chief James Beer. I want to start by recognizing the outstanding work of the women and men of the Oakland Police Department. Our officers have worked tirelessly to identify and arrest members of 2 Serrano gangs believed to be responsible for 34 homicides across the Bay Area, including 24 here in Oakland. This group was highly active, engaging in robberies, narcotics trafficking, firearms trafficking, to include assaults as well as other shootings. The investigation is still ongoing, but it's been going on for several years now. Started in December 2016, all the way through to November 2023. In addition to the 24 Oakland homicides, we believe that they're connected to multiple shootings that have occurred since November of 2023. Yesterday, Oakland police officers working alongside Alameda County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and the U.S. Marshals served 10 search warrants. 8 locations were in Oakland, 1 in Modesto, and 1 in Stockton. The coordinated operations led to the arrest of 8 suspects. In total, we identified 12 suspects connected to these crimes. 8 were arrested yesterday, 2 were previously taken into custody. 2 remain outstanding, and we continue our efforts into locating them and arresting them and bringing them to justice. We are grateful for the U.S. Attorney's Office, which has federally charged 9 of the suspects. 3 additional suspects are facing state charges. During the course of the investigation yesterday, when we did our enforcement operation, we relocated 2 firearms linked to these suspects. It should be noted, though, throughout these investigations for the last several years, we've recovered dozens of firearms. I want again to thank our law enforcement partners for their collaboration and the women and men of the Oakland Police Department for their commitment to justice. Your efforts have made our community safer and continue to make it safe. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Were there any tangible charges other than the gun that you guys are charging them as far as the crime goes?
Yes. On the state side, we're charging them for attempted murder as well as conspiracy. And then the federal charges, they released a news statement yesterday with regards to their charges.
Henry?
And Chief, are there similar enforcement actions or a similar amount of violence with, let's say, the Rotano side of this all, or is it all Serrano driven?
There has been violence from both sides. I will say that this group has been very active. The violence was not just contained to the Norteños or other rival gangs. There was violence occurred between this group themselves internally as well as related groups. The shootings have been across the board throughout our community, extremely dangerous. It's put our entire community at risk. The shootings were brazen, sometimes during broad daylight, at crowded parties at night, in parks, on streets, and in homes. We've even had violence associated with this groups that have occurred within churches, as well as other like baby celebrations and things like that.
And it wasn't just shootings, but there was drugs. Can you elaborate more about the totality of the crimes involved in all this?
Serious felony assaults include beatings with baseball bats, stabbings, pistol whippings. It was a very well organized crew that has connections throughout the state of California to include locations overseas. You're talking about narcotics trafficking, as well as firearms being brought up into our community and sold throughout that were used in crimes related from robberies to murders.
And this is all tied to the Mexican cartel as well, correct?
It's tied to several different organized groups that are involved in organized crime.
Were there any shooting victims that were not related to...
I say, end of the day, get them up out of here. That's all I can say. Get them up out of here. Said beating people with baseball bats. Let's keep going. Let's see what else they got to say.
Either gangs.
There were shooting victims related to multiple different gangs, not just the Sureños that were listed in the affidavit, but also the Border Brothers, the Norteños, as well as victims of robberies, victims of personal disputes.
And then there was the aspect of the shooting that happened in Richmond that was tied to one of the people arrested?
We're not going to talk about it outside agency. Need to reach out to them. Henry.
If you don't mind repeating, did you say 24 or 34 homicides? How many of them?
So there's been 31 homicides linked to this crew, 24 of which occurred here in Oakland.
He said 34 at first.
2016.
He definitely said.
Just for clarification, you said related to gangs overseas. Do you mean in Central America or Europe, Asia? One part. The other thing, my understanding is they were arraigned today. Do you have an update on that? Yeah.
So currently, we're discussing the 3 cases that are presented to the DA's office on the state for state level charges. But regards to the federal charges, I'll have to refer you to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Chief, to what degree is this group responsible, or groups responsible, for some of the violence that Oakland has seen over the last several years? And if they are behind that, have they been effectively put out of business?
They have greatly contributed to the violence within our community, specifically here in the city of Oakland. We have seen a reduction of shootings to include murders related to this group. I would say that the investigations are ongoing. We are still focusing on making additional arrests, and we're still looking at crimes that occurred previously in the past. I would warn anyone that's engaging in this type of activity, to include anyone associated with this group, that we're likely going to track you down and arrest you. We've not finished. This case is not done. There will be more arrests.
You said this has gone back to...
That's what I like to hear. At the end of the day, that's what I like to hear. Get the criminals off the street. True criminals. If you're a criminal, man, I feel like I'm a law-abiding citizen. I try to do my best to stay within the laws. One, because I'm not going to jail. That's always been the goal. I've been once for a little traffic thing. Stayed in there 12 hours, and I knew that wasn't for me. But let's keep going. Let's finish up this video.
2018, I understand it takes a lot to gather facts or whatnot, but that's 6, 7, 8 years to put this all together. Can you maybe explain why it's taking so long, especially if the crimes have been so violent?
So it started in 2016 is where we saw the biggest increase of violence related to this group. This is not the first time we conducted enforcement operations. Throughout this time, there's been arrests previously. Other members of this group or associates of this group have been arrested from charges for murder, firearms possession, shootings, stabbings. We've served several search warrants in Oakland, recovered dozens of firearms related to them. There's been some of these cases outside of what occurred yesterday, and the individuals that were taken into custody yesterday have still cases that are going through the court system. So this is a lot more elaborate than just one operation that occurred yesterday, if that makes sense.
Eric, the ones you said you presented to the Alameda County DAs, are they some of the same people arrested yesterday?
Those 3 are the ones we're referring to were involved in the most recent operation that culminated with the search warrant services yesterday. Throughout the last several years that have been charged.
2 from 2019, but these 3 other cases are the size of 2019 cases.
That's correct.
And the guns that you retrieved, were those in connection with the search warrants on Colorado?
So the 2 firearms I discussed earlier are related to the search warrant services that occurred yesterday.
A different address.
Okay, I feel like we've gotten the gist of this video. But the main thing is they have arrested 31 people, 31 gang members that are responsible. They're saying they're responsible for 31 homicides. And they've been tracking them since 2016. I'm happy that the police is doing their job. I am happy that the police is doing their job. We need police officers. That is what I feel like, especially as someone who wants to be, like I said, a law-abiding citizen. If something happens at my house, first of all, I'm going to defend myself. And second, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call the police. Call the police. That is their job. Come on, do what you're supposed to do and get it done. But absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. How are you about the police? There are some bad cops, but there are bad people in any profession. I don't like to believe that the majority of police officers are bad people, but some people do. Some people do. Some people think the profession itself is bad, but I don't think so. I don't think so, but you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe. But there it is. You got things messing up already. Hold on. That one over there. But let's pivot. Let's pivot now. We're going to go into the last thing we're going to talk about. And speaking of police, it looks like defunding the police backfired. It backfired. You know, there was a big craze about defunding the police. But now that they defunded it, they're trying to go back and get it going again, and no police officers want to join. Nobody wants to be a part of it. Maybe because the crime has gotten too bad, but let's get over into it and see what we can learn from this situation. Let's get into it. Let's see what we can find out.
Just hours away from Election Day in many states across this country, and we're taking a look at the issues important to voters as they head to the polls. President Trump, as you know, has made crime a nationwide priority, sending the National Guard into some of the country's biggest cities. The move sparking protests across the country in some spots. Here's what the president said about it last week.
Now we're taking a lot of bad people out. We're incarcerating some very bad people, some gangs. There are a lot of bad gangs there. We're taking care of it. And we're doing things that, frankly, local law enforcement is going to have a hard time doing.
Nearly half of the country says crime is an extremely or very serious problem, according to a recent Gallup poll. And the issue breaks along party lines. More Republicans view crime as a serious issue than Democrats or independents. Our Brian Ensign back out on the road, speaking of law enforcement, Burlington, Vermont, as part of his Driving the Vote series. Hello, Brian.
Now, let's back that stat up just a tad bit, because I did find it interesting. So, as you see, crime as a very serious issue by party. 69% of Republicans say that crime is a very serious issue, 45% of independents, and then 37% of Democrats. Maybe they were thinking that in their area it's not that bad to where they consider, but I can't make excuses. I think it's always good to have no crime than crime. So if it's a place that has a serious amount of crime, yes, I can see crime being a big issue. But there's some neighborhoods who don't have a lot of crime. So, but in general, I think that crime should be taken seriously. I don't think no slap on the wrist. I don't want to see any of that. If they're too, I don't care about, like we talked about in the last case, if the judge goes too lenient on them. If you're shoplifting, and they'll let you get up to like $1,000 in some places. But don't quote me on that. But I don't want slap on the wrist crime. Anything for the punishment to slap on the wrist. But let's keep going into this.
Republicans view crime as a serious issue than Democrats or independents. Our Brian Ensign back out on the road, speaking of law enforcement, Burlington, Vermont, as part of his Driving the Vote series. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Blake. Yeah, it's interesting. Pretty much everywhere we've gone around the country, crime is something that comes up, people wanting to feel safe, concerned in their neighborhoods. You heard so much about defunding the police for so long, but there were only a couple of cities that actually did it and defunded their police departments, and Burlington, Vermont is one of those cities, so we went there to see what it's like now. The leaves are changing, and it's a popular time of year to visit Burlington, Vermont. Are you Mark?
I am.
Hey, I'm Brian.
Hey, Brian.
But a closer look downtown, reveals a troubled side of the once idyllic college town.
These things have always been present, of course, you know, homelessness and drug addiction and mental health issues, but they seem to be going unchecked now in any way.
Unchecked because the city is down 30-plus officers on what's supposed to be a 90-officer force. Burlington defunded the police back in 2020 and focused more on social workers. And business owner Mark Bouchette says problems only got worse. Now the city's trying to reverse course and hire back officers, but the officers don't want to come back.
Is this like a Democrat-Republican issue? Is like what's going on here?
And, in Vermont, it's not a Democrat-Republican issue. It could be a Democrat-progressive issue, but there are no Republicans to speak of here. And
so, is it do the progressives just not want police, or like what?
I'm hard pressed to impugn their motives, right? Like, I think there is a strain of folks who truly believe that in a perfect world, police aren't necessary. And maybe in a perfect world they're not, but that's not the world I inhabit.
Now, I will say, what is this? I will say, social workers are needed. Yes, social workers are needed, but I don't think you can have social workers in exchange for police officers. I don't think you should take away, but maybe, I guess, the budget, you gotta cut something to move something else. But like you said, in a perfect world, maybe you wouldn't need police officers, but we're not in a perfect world. In a world where people want bad things, you need officers to be able to protect the people. But let's keep going into this video.
So these are Meta glasses. They have a little camera on the front. I'm going to put them on, record, and walk around Burlington and check it out. The first thing I noticed was a lot of graffiti all over downtown. Oh, that's interesting. And homeless people in the parks and alleys. Oh man, there's a needle right there. So this is a needle drop box where you can actually drop your needles. The social work aspect, it sounds really nice in social workers, but is it working? Just because when you walk around it doesn't look so good in some areas.
Yeah, certainly. So I think this is, being a defund city, this is a bit of a live experiment as well. So in the city, a decision was made to invest more with social service providers that are based with the police department and less on police officers over time. But that signal to the police staff at the time caused them to leave in droves.
After the defunding, everything changed.
This is one of the officers who left Burlington. We're hiding his face because he still works in law enforcement in Vermont. I think a lot of people think that the defund the police movement is over and don't realize that there are still all of these effects of it that are almost just as bad as when it happened.
Yes, yes. Maybe only having 2 or 3 officers on a shift when you should have 7 or 8, you have no time to address that. It becomes, is someone dead or dying? And you go from there first. And then if you have any spare time, it's just trying to catch up on paperwork and that kind of stuff, and there's no time. When I was there, it was a borderline nightmare.
I mean, it makes sense. When you don't have enough police officers, people can't get helped. Simple as that. You got to prioritize where you go, where you send officers. And that's how people die. At least that's my thinking, but let me know if you disagree. Let's keep going into this.
It was disturbing, Blake, talking to the business owners there. If they call the police just don't come because they don't have enough police, and they're trying to hire the officers back, realizing that their experiment didn't really work, but none of the cops want to come back because they don't feel valued there anymore. Blake?
Such an important story. You're right, it's fascinating. They want the officers, they can't find them. Remarkable. Our Brian Enton live out on the road for us again tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, Brian.
Absolutely crazy. Now, I don't like how he said experiment. I mean, I guess it kind of was an experiment, but experimenting at the cost of potentially people's lives. Like I said, I can understand wanting more social workers, but I don't think you should have more social workers to the detriment of the police force, because I think the police force is needed. There are times when the police is needed. There's times when social workers are needed. I don't think you can have one or the other. Then taking budget from the police to put in more, if anything, equal it out. But I don't know how they was running the budget in the first place. It's a crazy situation. Let me know your thoughts, y'all. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like the defund the police was a good movement? Should it have happened in the first place? It's a crazy situation. But it's something we got to review together. But that is it for the show today. We did it a little later today, 6. I am starting, so after I get back, I gotta go out of town. But I'm thinking in December, I'm gonna start doing Monday through Friday, maybe like an hour stream, 4 topics, starting around 6. That'd be every day instead of my sporadic schedule. Well, it's not sporadic. I do it every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. But that is what I'm debating on changing to, which I most likely will be Monday through Friday, every single day from 6 to 7:30, 4 or 5 topics of what's happening that day. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts on that is, if you would enjoy that. But that is it. Like I said, that is it for the show, y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching now. Thank you for watching later. Thank you who came into the live stream. Remember, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button so you can be up to date on all the videos. If you ever disagree with anything I said, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. If I'm saying something wrong, tell me. I want to understand what I'm talking about. That is the goal. Let's understand and review the world together, y'all. Remember, if you find anything you want me to review, you can send it over to my email. It's acreviewstheworld@gmail.com, a dot after the A and a dot after the C. Absolutely crazy things we talk about every single day or every time we do an episode. But that is it for now, y'all. Y'all already know these videos will be broken down, but you already know I got to play the outro before we leave. That's it for now, y'all. Peace. I'll see y'all on Friday. Peace.